Joining me live is Olga Vorozbhyt from Lviv in western Ukraine. With us, Olga, you've heard about this ceasefire that's just been announced by Russia for Mariupol and Volnovakha cities which are in the east. What do you think of this? It's not a ceasefire for all of Ukraine, but just those two places.
Yeah, and we have this information only from the Russian government.
Yes.
Ukrainian government, I haven't seen the confirmation from the Ukrainian government. However, yes, after the second round of talks, we had the statement from representatives of the Ukrainian side, Podolak, that there is an agreement on the humanitarian corridors.
Yeah.
Maybe this would mean that also other humanitarian corridors would be created, but for the time being, the Ukrainian side, we don't have any confirmation from the Ukrainian side. And what I wanted to also to stress that previously, like during this days of war since 24th of February, there were also humanitarian corridors created, and we had they were heated. Shoot those people who were moving through those corridors were shooted. So we need confirmation. We need to wait for confirmation from the Ukrainian government as well. So I can't trust. I can't trust the Russian side.
Okay, you're saying you can't trust the Russian Ministry of Defense. We've just read out that statement. They've basically said, Olga, may you read that statement? You've seen that they mentioned... Yeah, you've read the statement. Okay, great. So you see that they've mentioned Mariupol and they've mentioned Volnovakha, two cities, in the eastern part of the country. Can you tell us why you think those two cities have been chosen to be announced specifically for a ceasefire by the Russians at this point of time?
Well, frankly, I don't know, and I can't even assume why. I do hope maybe, well, it was somehow easily to do that if it is true, because we don't have confirmation from the Ukrainian side, so I can't trust what the Russian side says. This is the one point. The other point, yes, I heard that you mentioned that these are, you said that these people are pro-Russian, but before the war, we had also their rallies with people in Mariupol, for example, and even when the war already started, like in the first days, they were rallying with Ukrainian flags. So the point that they are Russian speakers doesn't mean that they are pro-Russian. This is just very important during this war.
Okay. Are you expecting that the talks will likely open up more humanitarian corridors and the possibility of a larger ceasefire, Olga?
Well, I would love to hope about that, because civilians, like Russia hitting civilians, and there are the huge number of civilians who were already killed and also wounded. So, of course, humanitarian corridors are needed, desperately needed, so those people who are stuck in their cities could leave the cities. But at the same time, it is very, very difficult to trust the Russian side, as their war is war cowards, those who are doing those cowardly. So they are hitting power plants, making this a threat for not only for Ukraine but for the whole Europe, as you've seen yesterday. So I would love to think that this might be true, and that civilians would have an opportunity to live. But at the same time, the level of trust, of my trust towards what the Russian side says is
I can imagine that the trust deficit between Ukraine and Russia is in the negative right now. I don't think there's any trust that remains right now, even though it's good to see that the two countries are at least on the face of it talking and trying to negotiate civilians getting out from there. In this situation, just to understand, because you would have that perspective, Olga, with this limited ceasefire for those two cities in the east, does the Ukrainian government have? I know the Ukrainian government hasn't reacted just yet to the statement, but assuming that is to be the case, would this mean that the Ukrainian government will get people and get civilians out of those areas?
Well, if they have, if there is, if they see that this is trustworthy, I guess, of course, because civilians should not suffer. I mean, of course.
There is also one view, Olga, my final question to you, that, removing civilians from these cities will make it easier for an invading army to actually take control of those cities, because then they don't have to really worry about collateral damage and civilian casualties, which is making them look bad in the eyes of the world. Could it also be that remove the civilians so we can take control quicker?
No, have you seen the videos of how Russians are hitting civilian and residential areas like maternity?
Yeah, we have.
That doesn't matter for them. So this doesn't matter for them. I mean, this is Ukrainian army, which takes into consideration because this is our people and they are defending them. And Russia hits residential areas, hits maternity houses. It doesn't make sense for them. They are just like, I don't know. No, this is not true. This is probably like a Russian propaganda style position, but no, this would make easier for those people who suffer there, but not for the Russian army.
Okay, you're saying that it doesn't matter, civilian casualties doesn't matter to them. Then why would they announce a ceasefire for civilians to get out at all? Is there some kind of messaging involved here?
This was one of the positions of the Ukrainian side, because the Ukraine cares about its citizens. Well, Russians are hitting residential areas, so the Ukraine should take care about their citizens and should take them from those areas from where Russia hits with missiles or other rocket launchers or whatever.
Okay, Olga, appreciate you joining me and giving us that invaluable perspective from Ukraine by a Ukrainian. It's valuable to us, and thank you for being with me and answering our questions here. So it's on day 10 of this invasion that things have escalated, but the Russians have announced a ceasefire for at least 2 cities in the eastern part of the country.